This is Logan Price. I'm recording this on my phone because I need someone to know what happened up here. What's still happening? I'm a wilderness guide, been leading treks along the Continental Divide for 8 years. This was supposed to be a standard 5-day through hike. 12 clients, me, and my assistant guide Kira Okonkwo. We're on day 3. Or we were. The group was typical. Retirees looking for one last adventure. A few 30-somethings trying to prove something. One college kid on summer break. I knew all their names by the first night. That's part of the job. Make it personal, make them feel capable, get them to the end point safely. Vera Costigan, 67, retired pharmacist from Boulder. She could outpace half the group despite needing reading glasses to check the trail map. Her husband died 2 years ago. She told me this was his bucket list item she was finishing for him. Marcus Webb, 28, tech worker from Seattle doing a digital detox. He filmed everything the first day until I made him understand that battery conservation wasn't optional out here. Jade McKenzie, 19, CU student hiking before her sophomore year. Youngest in the group. She'd never been above 10,000 feet before this trip. Cole Patel and his wife Ria, both 45, celebrating their 20th anniversary. They held hands on the switchbacks. Tobias and Heather Strand, siblings in their early 50s. They bickered constantly, but had each other's backs when the trail got technical. Greg Morrow, 38, EMT from Denver. I was glad to have medical training in the group, though I didn't expect we'd need it. Derek Sue, 52, high school biology teacher. He kept stopping to photograph wildflowers, slowing down the group. Roger Simmons, 44, accountant from Fort Collins. Quiet guy, talked mostly about his daughter's upcoming wedding. Patricia Lee, 37, nurse from Loveland. She was training for a medical mission to Ecuador. James Castellano, 61, retired engineer from Denver. His wife had died of cancer the year before. He said the mountains made him feel close to her. Kira and I rounded out the party. She's 26, third season guiding with me. Better navigator than I am, if I'm being honest. The first 2 days were perfect. Clear skies, mild temperatures, everyone keeping pace. We made camp at Granite Basin on night 2. 11,400 feet, tree line behind us, nothing but rock and alpine grass. That's when Vera started coughing. Just the altitude, she said, waving off my concern. Happens every time I get above 11,000. I'd reviewed her medical questionnaire. No respiratory issues listed. But altitude affects everyone differently, and she'd been keeping up fine. I made a note to watch her, gave her extra water, told her to let me know if it got worse. By morning, Marcus was coughing too. Dry air, he said, taking a hit from his inhaler. I've got exercise-induced asthma. It's on my forms. It was. I'd checked. Kira distributed cough drops at breakfast, the kind with menthol that help at altitude. 5 people took them. The coughing seemed like normal high-elevation stuff. Your lungs work harder up here. The air is thinner. Your body protests. We broke camp at 0700, heading for our third night stop at Echo Lake. 14 miles, summit crossing at 12,800 feet. The hardest day of the trek. I gave my usual pre-summit speech about pacing, hydration, and recognizing altitude sickness symptoms. Headache, nausea, dizziness, you tell me immediately. No toughing it out. The summit will still be there next year. Your brain cells won't regenerate if you push through cerebral edema. Everyone nodded. Everyone always nods. By 1100 hours, 6 people were coughing. Not occasional throat clearing. Persistent, wet coughs that echoed off the granite faces. Jade doubled over on a switchback, hacking so hard I thought she'd vomit. Greg, I called to the EMT. Check her oxygen levels. He pulled out his portable pulse oximeter. 92%. Low but not critical for this altitude. How do you feel? I asked Jade directly. Like my lungs are full of glass, she said. Every breath hurts. I made a decision. We're taking a 30-minute break. Everyone drink water. Greg, check oxygen levels on anyone who's coughing. The readings came back, 91%, 89%, 93%, 90%, 88%, 94%. All within the range of normal for altitude, if on the lower end. But 6 people showing identical symptoms within 12 hours? That wasn't altitude. That was something else. Kira pulled me aside. This doesn't feel right. No, I agreed. But we're at 12,200 feet with another 600 to climb. We can't go back down. That's 14 miles over terrain we just covered. Echo Lake is only 6 miles ahead. We get there, make camp, And if anyone's worse by morning, we activate emergency extraction. What if it's contagious? The question hung in the thin air between us. I didn't want to think it. Didn't want to be the guide who panicked over altitude cough and traumatized a dozen clients. We maintain distance protocols, I said. No sharing water bottles. Hand sanitizer between any contact. We get to Echo Lake and reassess. We pushed on. Cole started coughing at 12,500 feet. Heather at 12,600. By the time we crested the summit ridge at 12,847 feet, the highest point of the entire trail, 10 out of 12 clients were showing symptoms. Only Tobias and Rhea seemed unaffected. The descent toward Echo Lake should have been easier. Downhill, oxygen increasing. But Marcus collapsed at 12,400 feet on the eastern slope. "Can't breathe," he gasped. "Can't." Greg was on him immediately, checking vitals. Oxygen at 84%. "That's too low. We need to get him down faster." I made the call on my satellite phone. "This is Guide Logan Price, Continental Divide Through Hike, permit number CDT 2024-089. I have a medical emergency at coordinates 39.8472 degrees north, 105.9823 degrees west. Client experiencing severe respiratory distress, oxygen saturation 84% at 12,400 feet. Requesting emergency helicopter extraction." The ranger station dispatcher's voice crackled back. "Copy your position. Be advised, all emergency helicopter services are grounded due to smoke from the California wildfires. Visibility below minimum safe operating standards. Can you descend to lower elevation?" "Working on it." "How long until air clearance?" "Unknown. Could be days." "Can your client self-evacuate?" I looked at Marcus, who was now blue around the lips despite Greg's supplemental oxygen. "Negative. He needs immediate medical attention." "Understood. Descend to the nearest trail access point. We'll have ground transport meet you. Coordinates for closest vehicle access. Echo Lake Trailhead, 10,200 feet. 8 miles from your position." 8 miles. With a client who could barely stand. "Kira," I said, "we're doing a litter carry." We assembled the emergency stretcher from our packs, lightweight aluminum frame, nylon webbing. Marcus went on it. Tobias, Greg, Derek, and I took the 4 corners. Everyone else carried our gear. Carrying 160 pounds of unconscious hiker down a mountain trail is brutal work. We rotated every 15 minutes. Vera, despite her age and her cough, insisted on taking a corner. I carried 2 children and a nursing degree. I can carry 1/4 of a tech worker. She lasted 10 minutes before her coughing became too severe to continue. By 1600 hours, we'd covered 3 miles. Marcus's oxygen had stabilized at 88%. Not good, but not immediately life-threatening. Then Jade collapsed. "I can't," she said, sitting down hard on the trail. "I can't move anymore." Her oxygen was 86%. Her lips were gray. We now had 2 people who couldn't walk. "Kira," I said quietly, "we have a problem." She was already doing the math. "We can't carry 2 people. We don't have enough able bodies." I pulled out the sat phone again. "This is Guide Logan Price. Emergency situation deteriorating. Now have 2 clients with severe respiratory distress, oxygen levels mid-80s. Multiple others symptomatic. Requesting any available ground transport to Echo Lake Trailhead immediately." The dispatcher's response made my blood cold. "Be advised, Echo Lake area is under quarantine order as of 1,530 hours today. Do not approach Echo Lake Trailhead. Repeat, do not approach vehicle access points." "What? Why?" "Respiratory pathogen outbreak originating from Front Range hiking areas. Trail closures and quarantine zones established for all Continental Divide sections between Boulder and Summit County. You're in a hot zone." My hands went numb. It had nothing to do with altitude. "We have sick people here. They need medical care. Maintain your position. CDC field teams are being deployed. Do not attempt to exit the containment zone. Do not approach populated areas. Medical support is being coordinated." "How long?" "Unknown. Could be 24 to 48 hours. The connection cut out. I looked at my group. 10 people coughing, 2 unable to walk, all of us 8 miles from the nearest road that we were now forbidden from approaching. No helicopter extraction. No ground transport. No way out. Kira met my eyes. "What do we do?" "We make camp," I said. "Right here. We set up, we rest, and we figure this out." Logan. Vera's voice was quiet. What's happening? I couldn't lie to them. Wouldn't. There's a respiratory outbreak in the Front Range. We've been exposed. The entire trail system is quarantined. They're sending help, but it's going to take time. Quarantined? Cole's voice rose. We're trapped out here. We're being kept safe. I corrected, though I didn't believe it. Away from population centers until they understand what this is. Marcus was semi-conscious on the stretcher. Jade was sitting in the dirt, head between her knees, breathing in short gasps. 8 others were coughing constantly now, the sound echoing off the granite walls like some kind of tuberculosis ward from the 1800s. Only Tobias and Ria showed no symptoms. We'd been together for 3 days. Shared meals, shared tents, shared water sources. If this was contagious, and the CDC's quarantine suggested it was, then everyone had been exposed. So why weren't Tobias and Ria sick? We made camp at 11,900 feet in a boulder field with minimal wind protection. Not ideal, but Marcus and Jade couldn't go any further. I set up the 3 large group tents in a triangle configuration, assigned sleeping arrangements to maximize space for the sick. Marcus and Jade got 1 tent, with Greg monitoring them. The other symptomatic hikers split between the remaining 2 tents. Tobias and Ria got a small 2-person tent I'd been saving for emergency use. Kira and I would sleep in shifts outside, keeping the camp stove going and monitoring everyone. By 1900 hours, the coughing had evolved. It wasn't just dry irritation anymore. People were bringing up fluid, pink-tinged sputum. Greg showed me a sample from Vera. That's blood, he said quietly. Pulmonary edema or hemorrhage. These aren't altitude symptoms, Logan. This is pathogenic. I know. We need evacuation. Now. Not in 48 hours. I called. They said they're coming. When they get here, they're going to find bodies. I didn't respond because I couldn't disagree. Derek, the biology teacher, emerged from his tent. His face was pale, but his cough seemed less severe than the others. I've been thinking about the transmission pattern. Now's not the time for a science lesson, Greg snapped. Actually, it is. Derek pulled out a small notebook where he'd been documenting symptoms. Vera started showing symptoms at 11,400 feet after 2 days on trail. Marcus 18 hours later. By midday today, 10 of 12 showing symptoms. That's exponential spread, which suggests respiratory transmission via droplets or aerosol. We know it's respiratory, I said. The CDC told us. But look at who's not sick. Tobias and Ria. They've been with us the entire time. Same campfires, same water sources. So either they have natural immunity, or there's something environmental protecting them. Like what? Altitude? Genetic factors? Previous exposure to a similar pathogen? Derek doubled over coughing, but continued when he caught his breath. Or the pathogen has an incubation period and they're just not symptomatic yet. That thought was somehow worse. Not immune, just delayed. The sat phone crackled. I grabbed it. Price here. Guide Price. This is CDC Forward Operating Base, Colorado Division. I'm Dr. Sanchez. I understand you have 12 civilians in the containment zone showing respiratory symptoms. Finally, authority. Help. 14 including myself and my assistant guide. 12 clients, 10 symptomatic, 2 critical. We need immediate medical evacuation. What is your current elevation and exposure timeline? I gave her the coordinates and timeline. First symptoms appeared 36 hours ago. Progression has been rapid. We have blood-tinged sputum, oxygen saturations in the low 80s, 2 clients who can no longer ambulate. Copy that. I need you to answer some questions. Has anyone died? The question hit like a punch. No, not yet. Not yet, she repeated. Okay, listen carefully. The pathogen you've been exposed to is a novel respiratory strain. Early designation is RV9. Respiratory virus, 9th novel strain identified this year. It has a mortality rate of approximately 40% in symptomatic cases. Incubation period is 24 to 48 hours. Symptom progression from stage 1 to stage 3 is rapid, usually 72 hours. What's stage 3? She paused. Complete respiratory failure. We're seeing crystalline protein deposits forming in lung tissue. It's like the alveoli are being filled with concrete. Once stage 3 begins, survival time is 6 to 12 hours without mechanical ventilation. My stomach dropped. You're saying my clients are going to suffocate. I'm saying you need to prepare for casualties. We're coordinating extraction, but it's going to take time. The entire Front Range is locked down. Every trail access point has been quarantined. We're dealing with 200+ confirmed cases spread across 6 counties. What do we do until you get here? Keep them hydrated. Supplemental oxygen if you have it. Monitor breathing rates. Once someone reaches 40 breaths per minute at rest, they're entering stage 3. At that point, make them comfortable. Make them comfortable. Medical euphemism for letting them die. How long until extraction? 48 hours minimum. Possibly longer. We're establishing a forward treatment facility at the Georgetown Loop, but it's not operational yet. And even when it is, we can't extract from high altitude. You need to get your group to 10,000 feet or below. One of my critical clients can't be moved. Moving him might kill him. Staying will definitely kill him. I'm sorry, Price. I know this isn't what you want to hear, but the virus progresses faster at altitude. Lower elevation gives you better oxygen saturation, slows symptom advancement. You need to descend. The line went dead. I gathered everyone who could stand. 7 people emerged from the tents, all of them coughing. Tobias and Rial looked scared but healthy. New information from the CDC, I said. We're infected with a novel respiratory virus. It's serious. Mortality rate is 40% without treatment. But treatment exists, we just need to get to it. There's a field hospital being set up at Georgetown. We need to descend to 10,000 feet to be extracted. How far is that? Cole asked. From here, 12 miles, but it's mostly downhill. Easier terrain. Marcus can't walk 12 miles, Greg said flatly. Neither can Jade. You know that. We carry them. We've done it before. For 3 miles, and we had 8 healthy carriers. Now we have 2 healthy people and 7 who can barely breathe. Then we do what we can. We move as a group, or we die as a group. Bullshit. Greg's voice was hard. You move as fast as your slowest member, which means everyone dies when the slowest members hit stage 3. This isn't about group solidarity. It's about mathematics. The strong need to move fast. The weak don't. Kira stepped between us. Don't finish that sentence. Someone has to say it. We have 12 miles of trail and maybe 36 hours before the critical cases die. If we wait for them, we all die. If we move fast with the people who can still move, maybe 7 or 8 of us survive. Vera spoke up, her voice hoarse. He's right, Logan. I can barely make it 50 yards. I'm slowing everyone down. You should go ahead. Leave us. No. The word came out harder than I intended. We don't leave people behind. That's not how this works. It's how triage works, Greg said. I'm an EMT. I know this. In mass casualty situations, you prioritize the salvageable. Marcus and Jade are Category 4, expectant. They're not going to make it. Vera and the other Stage 2s are Category 3, delayed care. Yumi, Kira, and the 2 healthy ones were Category 1, immediate evacuation. We're not in an ER. We're on a mountain, and I'm the guide. My responsibility is everyone. Your responsibility is to get as many people home alive as possible. Sometimes that means hard choices. I looked at the faces around me. Vera, who'd carried her dead husband's dream up this mountain. Jade, who should have been starting her sophomore year in 3 weeks. Marcus, unconscious in the tent behind us. Cole and Ria, who'd been holding hands on the switchbacks just yesterday. We move together, I said. We carry the critical cases. We help the symptomatic ones. We descend as a group. Then we die as a group, Greg said. Maybe, but we die trying to save each other, not abandoning people to make the math work. Greg stared at me for a long moment. Then he shook his head. You're going to get us killed. Probably, but I can live with that. Can you live with leaving them? He didn't answer. We broke camp at 0600. Marcus's oxygen had dropped to 82% overnight. Jade was barely conscious. We put them both on the stretchers. I'd fashioned a second one from trekking poles and emergency blankets. Not as sturdy as the manufactured litter, but it would have to work. The healthy carriers were me, Kira, Tobias, Ria, and reluctantly Greg. 5 people to carry 2 150-pound loads over 12 miles of rocky trail. We'd rotate every 10 minutes, but the math was brutal. Each person would spend 40 minutes out of every 50 carrying. The symptomatic hikers carried their own packs and walked under their own power. For now. Vera collapsed after a quarter mile. Her breathing was at 38 breaths per minute, just shy of stage 3. Leave me, she whispered. Please, save yourselves. Not happening. I put her on the stretcher with Jade. 2 people on a 1-person litter meant the weight was now close to 280 pounds. Tobias and Ria took the first shift with me and Kira. We made it another half-mile before Derek sat down on the trail and refused to get up. Can't breathe. Can't move. His respiratory rate was 41. Stage 3. We now had 3 people who couldn't walk and only 1 functioning stretcher between them. The second makeshift litter had broken under Vera's weight after 200 yards. I looked at the trail ahead. 11 more miles. 8 people who could still walk, all of them coughing blood. 3 who couldn't walk. No way to carry all of them. Greg's words echoed in my head. Hard choices. Triev. Kira, I said quietly. Calculate the odds. If we move with just the ambulatory patients, how many reach 10,000 feet alive? Don't ask me that. I'm asking. I need to know. She pulled out the map, checked our pace, calculated. If we move at 2 miles per hour, 6 hours to the extraction point. The symptomatic clients have oxygen levels between 85 and 90%. They're declining about 2% per hour. So maybe 5 make it, possibly 6 if we're lucky. And if we carry the critical cases, we move at half a mile per hour. 24 hours. Nobody makes it. The critical cases die within 12. The symptomatic ones progress to stage 3. We're all carrying bodies by hour 18. I looked at Vera, unconscious on the stretcher. Jade, barely 18 years old. Derek, who'd been photographing wildflowers 3 days ago. What do we do? Tobias asked. His voice was steady, but his eyes were terrified. He and Ria were the only healthy ones. They could run. They could be down the mountain in 6 hours if they abandoned everyone. You and Ria go ahead, I said. Move fast. Get to the extraction point. Tell them we need immediate helicopter support at our current location. There are no helicopters, Ria said. Smoke, remember? Then tell them we need ground support. ATVs, whatever they can get up here. Go. What about you? Tobias asked. I stay with my group. Kira grabbed my arm. Logan, I'm not abandoning them. You go too. Get help. I'll move as fast as I can with whoever can still walk. I'm not leaving you. You're my assistant guide. I'm ordering you to go. Fuck your orders. I stay. Greg spoke up. I'll go. Someone needs to explain the medical situation to the CDC team. I can triage from there, help them prioritize who gets treated first when they arrive. I wanted to argue, but he was right. Medical expertise at the extraction point could save lives. Go, I said. Take Tobias and Ria. Move as fast as you can. They left within 5 minutes, carrying only water and emergency supplies. I watched them disappear down the trail at a pace we'd never match. That left me, Kira, and 7 people in various stages of respiratory failure. 3 couldn't walk, 4 could barely walk, and we had 11 miles to go. Cole approached me, his wife Ria having just left. His breathing was labored. I'm slowing you down. Leave me with Derek and Vera. You take the ones who can still move. I'm not. Listen. He grabbed my shoulder with surprising strength. Ria gets out. That's what matters. I made her go. Now you make the same call. Take the 4 who can still walk. Get them to 10,000 feet. Let us die knowing someone survived. I can't make that choice. You already did. You sent Greg, Tobias, and Ria ahead. You chose triage. Now finish the job. I looked at the 4 people who could still stand. Heather, Patricia, Roger, and James. All of them symptomatic, but still ambulatory. My brain was getting foggy. Altitude? Fear? Infection? Logan. Kira's voice was urgent. You're breathing. It's fast. I counted. 34 breaths per minute. I was symptomatic. The realization hit like a physical blow. I'd been so focused on everyone else, I'd missed my own symptoms. The cough I'd attributed to dry air. The tightness in my chest I'd blamed on stress. I was infected. Stage 2, maybe stage 3. How long do I have? I asked Derek, the biology teacher. He checked his notes with shaking hands. If you're at 34 breaths per minute, 6 to 8 hours until stage 3. Maybe less. 6 hours. To cover 11 miles and save whoever I could save. Kira's face was pale. I'm at 31. We were both infected. Both dying. Both now part of the triage calculation. I made the call. Heather, Patricia, Roger, James, you come with me and Kira. We move now. We carry Jade because she's lightest and youngest. Everyone else. I'm sorry. Vera opened her eyes. Go. Save who you can. Tell my daughter I finished the trail for her father. Marcus was unconscious. Wouldn't know we were leaving. Derek and Cole nodded understanding. We left them on the trail at 11,200 feet, with water and emergency blankets and the knowledge they wouldn't see tomorrow. I don't know if that's what a hero does or what a coward does. I just know it's what someone who's trying to save anyone does when saving everyone isn't possible. We moved. Kira and I carried Jade on the stretcher for the first mile. My lungs felt like someone had filled them with wet concrete. Every breath was work. Every step was negotiation with a body that wanted to stop. Heather lasted 2 miles before sitting down. Can't do it. Go. Cole had stayed behind with the others, but Patricia knelt beside Heather. I'm a nurse. I can't leave her. Patricia, I started. Go, Logan. Get the others out. I'll stay with Heather. We'll wait for the CDC team together. I wanted to argue. Wanted to say we'd all make it. But my breathing was at 36 per minute now. Stage 2 progressing to stage 3. I had maybe 4 hours of functional consciousness left. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be. You're doing the right thing. Now go. That left me Kira, Roger, James, and Jade. 5 people covering what should have been a 6-hour hike. At mile 7, Roger collapsed. Can't breathe anymore. You go ahead. Roger, your daughter's wedding. Tell her. I tried. Tell her I love her. His breathing was at 45 per minute. Stage 3 advanced. He had maybe 2 hours. James stayed with him. I'll keep him company. You get Jade to safety. She's got her whole life ahead. James, my wife's waiting for me on the other side anyway. I'm ready. Jade's not. Go. 2 more left behind. 2 more names I'd carry forever. Derek died at mile marker 7.5. We didn't see it happen. We'd left him hours earlier. But I knew. His respiratory rate had been 41 when we left. Stage 3 doesn't take long at 11,000 feet. Jade, Cole, Heather, Derek, Marcus, Vera, Roger, James, Patricia. 9 people dead or dying. Out of 14. Greg had been right about the math. Kira's breathing had reached 39 per minute. Mine was at 41. We were both entering stage 3. Jade was still at 36, stage 2 but declining. Logan. Kira's voice was weak. We're not making it. Yes, we are. Math says no. Fuck the math. We covered another mile. My vision was graying at the edges. Hypoxia. Brain death starting. I'd seen it before in extreme altitude sickness. The body prioritizing heart over brain, shutting down consciousness to preserve core functions for a few more minutes. I sat down. Not because I chose to. Because my legs stopped working. Kira sat next to me. At least, we tried. Not done yet. Logan. Look at elevation. I checked the GPS 10,847 feet. We were 847 feet above the extraction threshold. Maybe 2 miles from the Georgetown access point where the CDC field hospital was supposed to be. So close. Close enough to see the valley below. Close enough to make out the shapes of vehicles. Too far to reach alive. Jade was unconscious on the stretcher between us. Her breathing was 43 per minute. She had maybe 2 hours. I pulled out the sat phone with shaking hands. This is Logan Price. Continental Divide. Permit CDT 2024-089. We're at 10,847 feet. 3 survivors. All stage 3. Need immediate extraction. Dr. Sanchez's voice came back. Price, where are the others? Dead. Or dying. 8 casualties. We left them. Had to triage. Understood. Ground transport is at Georgetown Trailhead. Can you make it to 10,000 feet? No. We're done. Maybe 90 minutes left. Silence on the line. Then, Price, I need you to listen carefully. There's a fire road approximately 1 mile north of your position. If you can reach it, we can send ATVs. But you need to move now. Can't move. Then you die there. I'm sorry. Those are the options. Move or die. Kira grabbed my hand. 1 more mile. Can't carry Jade. Leave her. No. Logan. She's 18. Life ahead. We're already dead. Get her to the road. I wanted to argue. Wanted to say we save everyone or no one. But I was breathing 46 times per minute and couldn't feel my legs, and the math had been screaming at me since mile 3 that I couldn't save everyone. I'd just been too stubborn to listen. We left Jade on the stretcher with a note pinned to her jacket. Jade McKenzie, 19, CU student. Stage 3, arrived 1,523 hours. GPS coordinates 39.7234 degrees north, 105.8847 degrees west. Then Kira and I crawled. We didn't walk. We crawled on our hands and knees across talus and screed toward a road we'd never seen, but had to believe existed. I don't remember the last quarter mile. Kira told me later I was talking to people who weren't there. My father, dead 6 years. My first climbing partner, killed in an avalanche on Long's Peak. I was apologizing to them. For what? I don't know. The fire road appeared at 1,604 hours. Gravel and tire tracks, and the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Kira triggered the emergency beacon on the sat phone. Then she lay down on the gravel and stopped moving. I tried to wake her, tried to check her pulse, but my hands wouldn't cooperate and my vision was down to a tunnel and I was breathing so fast I couldn't count anymore. The sound of engines, ATVs, people in hazmat suits lifting me onto a stretcher, an oxygen mask over my face, someone asking my name. Logan Price, I tried to say. Jade. Jade is 1 mile south. Coordinates in the phone. She's alive. Still alive. Go get her. I don't know if they heard me. I don't know if they found her. Everything went black. I woke up in a medical tent with tubes in my chest. Bilateral chest tubes draining fluid from my lungs. Ventilator doing my breathing for me. For lines in both arms pumping something clear into my veins. Dr. Sanchez stood over me. She was younger than I'd imagined. Maybe 40. Hispanic features. Dark eyes that had seen too much. Welcome back, Price. You've been unconscious for 31 hours. Your friend Kira is 3/10 over. She's stable. I tried to talk. The ventilator tube prevented it. Don't try to speak. I know you have questions. Here are the answers. You reached us at stage 3 respiratory failure. Your oxygen saturation was 68% when the extraction team found you. Another 10 minutes, and you'd have been category 4 expectant. We intubated you immediately, started antiviral protocols, and drained 800 milliliters of fluid from each lung. The crystalline deposits had begun forming, but we caught it early enough to prevent permanent damage. She pulled up a chair. You saved 2 lives. Yours and Kira's. The 3 people you sent ahead, Greg Morrow, Tobias Strand, and Ria Patel, all made it. They're in quarantine but asymptomatic. Whatever protected them from infection is still protecting them. We're studying their blood now. 5 survivors out of 14. I closed my eyes. The others didn't make it, she continued. We sent teams to retrieve them. Found 8 bodies. Vera Costigan, Marcus Webb, Cole Patel, Heather Strand, Derek Sue, Roger Simmons, Patricia Lee, and James Castellano. They all died of respiratory failure consistent with RV9. 8 dead. I'd left them. Chosen to leave them. Made the math work by abandoning the unsalvageable. We found Jade McKenzie where you said she'd be. She was still breathing when we reached her. 90 minutes after you left her. We got her to the field hospital. She's in the tent next to yours. Intubated like you. But alive. I opened my eyes. 6 survivors. 6 out of 14. You did triage, Price. You made the hard calls. You prioritized the salvageable. Greg Morrow explained your decision tree. How you knew you couldn't carry everyone. How you chose who had the best chance. I wanted to tell her that wasn't true. That I tried to save everyone and failed. That every person I left behind was a failure of my competence, not a success of my triage. But I couldn't speak. Could only listen. The CDC is documenting your case as a model response to mass casualty wilderness outbreak, she continued. Your decision to send the healthy ahead, your systematic evacuation of symptomatic clients, your final push to get yourself and Kira to extraction, all of it aligns with emergency medicine protocols. She paused. But I don't think that's how you see it. Is it? I blinked once. No. You see 8 dead people you were supposed to protect. 8 clients who paid you to keep them safe. 8 names you have to live with. I blinked again. Yes. I'm going to tell you something, Price. Something you won't believe right now, but maybe you'll believe later. You were infected. Stage 2 progressing to stage 3. Your cognitive function was impaired by hypoxia. The fact that you remembered Jade's location, that you got coordinates to us, that you functioned at all with oxygen levels in the 70s, that's remarkable. You saved lives while your brain was dying. She stood. We're going to keep you intubated for another 24 hours. The antivirals are working, but the lung damage is significant. You'll need months of rehabilitation. Kira too. Jade is responding well. She'll probably recover fully. She's young, strong lungs. Dr. Sanchez moved toward the tent exit, then turned back. Roger Simmons talked about his daughter's wedding. He was walking the trail to lose weight before walking her down the aisle. Patricia Lee was training for a medical mission to Ecuador, wanted to test herself at altitude. James Castellano was celebrating his retirement. His wife died of cancer the year before. He said the mountains made him feel close to her. Now I was crying, tears running down my face around the ventilator tube. They were people. They mattered. And you couldn't save them. Not because you didn't try. Not because you didn't care. But because the math didn't allow it. 8 people died, Price. 6 people lived. In a 40% mortality outbreak, that's actually better than expected survival rate. You beat the odds. She left me alone with my tears and my tubes, and the knowledge that beating the odds still meant 8 body bags. They extubated me on day 4. My lungs felt like raw meat. Every breath was conscious effort. They said I'd regain 80% function over 6 months. Maybe 90% after a year. The crystalline deposits had scarred the tissue. I'd never climb above 12,000 feet again without supplemental oxygen. Kira was extubated the same day. We sat in adjacent cots, neither of us speaking. What was there to say? We'd survived. Others hadn't. The math was simple. The guilt was complex. Jade visited us on day 5. She was on oxygen but walking. 19 years old and already marked by something most people would never experience. She sat between our cots. I remember you leaving me, she said quietly. I was conscious. I heard you tell Kira we had to move faster. I heard you say you'd come back for me. I'm sorry, I managed. My voice was wrecked. Weeks of intubation damage. Don't be. You came back. You left coordinates. You saved me. She looked at her hands. But I also remember Marcus. And Vera. We left them too. They didn't get coordinates. They just got left. I know. Do you think they knew? That we were leaving them to die? Vera knew. She told me to go. That doesn't make it okay. No, it doesn't. Jade stood. I'm going home next week. Back to see you for fall semester. My parents want me to quit school, move home, get therapy. But I'm going back. Because if I don't, then what was the point? 8 people died so I could drop out of college and live in my childhood bedroom. She was right. The only way their deaths meant anything was if the survivors lived fully. Lived for the people who couldn't. I'm never going hiking again, she added. Just so you know, I'm done with mountains. Done with wilderness. Done with trusting that following a guide means you'll be safe. I don't blame you. I know, but I blame you anyway. And I'm grateful to you. And I hate that both things are true. She left without saying goodbye. Greg Morrow visited on day 6. He looked healthy. No oxygen, no cough, no visible trauma beyond the psychological kind. I testified to the CDC investigation, he said, standing at the foot of my cot. Told them you made the right calls. Prioritized salvageable cases. Followed triage protocols. They're not filing any charges. Charges? The word hadn't occurred to me. Negligent homicide. Reckless endangerment. Failure to provide adequate care. The families of the deceased are exploring legal options. My testimony might help. Or it might not. I left people to die, Greg. That's not a legal question. That's a moral fact. You left people who were already dying. There's a difference. I'm an EMT. I know the difference. But I also know it doesn't matter to you. You're going to carry those 8 people for the rest of your life. Yes. Good. You should. That's what makes you different from someone who could make those calls easily. You made them and it destroyed you. That means you're still human. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Vera Costigan's daughter asked me to give you this. I was the only survivor who'd speak to the families. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a photo, Vera and her husband on a mountain summit, both of them grinning, wind in their hair. On the back, in careful handwriting, thank you for getting my mother as far as you did. She died doing what my father dreamed of. That matters. Sarah Costigan. Not forgiveness. Not absolution. Just acknowledgement that I'd tried. It was more than I deserved. Tobias and Ria visited together on day 7. They looked like ghosts. Healthy ghosts, but ghosts nonetheless. They don't know why we didn't get sick, Tobias said. They've run every test. Blood work, genetic screening, antibody panels. Nothing explains it. We were exposed just like everyone else. We should have gotten sick. We should have died. Survivor's guilt is real, Ria added. Her voice was hollow. My husband died. Cole died while I was running down a mountain to save myself. I can't reconcile that. Can't understand why I get to live and he doesn't. There's no answer to that question, I said. I know. That's the problem. If there was a reason, if I had special immunity, if I'd done something different, if there was logic, I could process it. But there's no logic. Just randomness. And I have to live with being randomly selected to survive while randomly selected others died. Kira spoke for the first time in the conversation. At least you weren't the one who decided. Logan and I did trio. We chose who lived and who died. You just got lucky. I don't feel lucky, Ria said. I feel like I should have died too. We sat in silence. 5 survivors trying to figure out how to be alive when 8 others weren't. Dr. Sanchez released me on day 12. I could walk 50 yards before needing rest. Could breathe room air with oxygen saturations in the low 90s. Could technically survive outside a medical tent. She gave me discharge papers and a referral to a therapist who specialized in trauma. You'll have nightmares. Panic attacks when you see mountains. Survivor's guilt that makes you question every decision. That's normal. That's PTSD. Get help. What if I don't want help? What if I want to remember? Want to feel guilty? Then you're choosing to let RV9 claim one more victim. You. And that means 8 people died for nothing. She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing and feeling were different things. I went home to my apartment in Boulder. The same apartment I'd left 2 weeks earlier, excited about a standard 5-day trek with standard clients and standard outcomes. Everything looked the same. My climbing gear in the corner. My trail maps on the wall. My guide certifications framed above my desk. But everything was different. Because I was different. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The outfitter company had sent emails. The first few were administrative. Sorry to hear about the outbreak. Hope you're recovering. Take all the time you need. Then the tone changed. We need to discuss your actions during the emergency. Several families are threatening legal action. Please contact our legal department. Then termination. Due to liability concerns and pending investigations, we're suspending your guide certification pending review. I was unemployed, under investigation, possibly facing criminal charges. And I couldn't even argue that I didn't deserve it. I pulled out my phone, found the voice memo app, started recording. This is Logan Price. I'm recording this because I need someone to know what happened up there. The full story, not the CDC version or the legal version. The version where I made choices that killed people. Where I forgot names. Where I left 19-year-old Jade McKenzie on a stretcher to die, and only dumb luck meant we found her in time. I paused, coughing. My lungs still burned. 8 people died. Vera Costigan, who was finishing her dead husband's dream. Marcus Webb, who just wanted a digital detox. Derek Sue, who photographed wildflowers. Cole Patel, who sacrificed himself so his wife could live. Heather Strand. Roger Simmons. Patricia Lee. James Castellano. I didn't save them. I chose not to save them. And I have to live with that. Another pause. Longer this time. The CDC says I followed protocols. Greg says I made the right calls. Dr. Sanchez says I beat the survival odds. But here's what they don't say. Protocols don't account for what it feels like to look someone in the eye and tell them you're leaving them to die. The math doesn't care that Vera was a grandmother. Triage doesn't measure the weight of choosing who lives based on who can walk fastest. I stopped recording, listened to it back. It sounded like a confession, or a suicide note. I wasn't sure which. I saved it to my cloud storage. Titled it Continental Divide, August 2024, Terminal Divide. If I didn't make it through whatever came next, at least there'd be a record. A true record. Not the sanitized version the CDC would publish, or the vilified version the lawyers would present. Just the truth. I was a guide who tried to save everyone and managed to save 6. And I'd spend the rest of my life wondering if I'd made different choices. Could it have been 7? Could it have been 8? Could it have been everyone? 3 months later, the CDC published their final report on the RV9 outbreak. 247 confirmed cases across Colorado. 94 deaths. 38% mortality rate, slightly lower than initial projections. My group, 14 exposed. 12 infected. 8 deaths. 57% mortality rate. We'd done worse than average. The report noted challenging high-altitude environment and delayed extraction as contributing factors. It praised my systematic triage approach and life-saving decision to send healthy individuals ahead for rapid extraction. It didn't mention the names I'd remembered. The people I left behind. The mathematical brutality of choosing who lives based on who can walk fastest. The lawsuits settled out of court. The outfitter's insurance covered it. I wasn't personally liable. The courts agreed I'd followed reasonable protocols under extreme circumstances. Legal victory. Moral defeat. I never guided another trek. My certification was reinstated, but I didn't renew it. Couldn't imagine taking another group into the wilderness. Couldn't promise I'd keep them safe when I knew, absolutely knew, that safety wasn't something I could guarantee. Kira went back to guiding. She said it was the only way she could process it, by proving to herself that one bad trek didn't define her. I admired that, envied it, couldn't replicate it. Jade graduated from CU. She sends me a card every year on the anniversary of the outbreak. Never says much, just still here, still grateful, still angry. I understand all three. Greg still works as an EMT. Tobias returned to his job as an accountant. Ria moved away from Colorado entirely, couldn't stand looking at mountains anymore. We're all still alive, all still carrying August 2024 with us. All still wondering why we survived when Roger, Patricia, James, Vera, Marcus, Derek, Cole, and Heather didn't. The therapist says survivor's guilt is irrational. That I did everything possible under impossible circumstances. That beating 40% mortality odds is success, not failure. But here's what she doesn't understand. Success would have been 14 people walking off that mountain. Anything less is just different degrees of failure. I still hike. Local trails. Low altitude. Never more than 5 miles. Never with clients. Just me and my damaged lungs and my memories of people whose faces I can barely remember, but whose deaths I'll never forget. Sometimes I see other guided groups on the trail. Young guides with confident smiles, leading clients through the wilderness, promising adventure and safety and triumph over nature. I want to warn them. I want to tell them that nature doesn't negotiate. That viruses don't care about your certification. That sometimes the math requires you to choose who dies. That they should memorize every client's name, because someday they might need to remember who they failed to save. But I don't say anything. Just step aside. Let them pass. Watch them disappear up the trail toward whatever future awaits them. Maybe they'll all make it down safely. Maybe they'll never face the choice I faced. Maybe they'll guide for 30 years and retire with nothing but happy memories and grateful clients. Or maybe someday they'll be standing at 11,200 feet with 12 infected people and only enough resources to save 6. And they'll have to do the math. And they'll have to live with it. I hope they never find out which it'll be. But I'll be here if they do. Recording my story. Remembering my 8. Carrying the weight of survival. This is Logan Price. Continental Divide, August 2024. Terminal Divide. 6 survivors. 8 dead. One guide who learned that doing everything right can still mean doing everything wrong. The recording ends here.